So Fox News has they covered an article. They came out with their own article by Caitlin McFall, talking about Space Force and Trump. And I for one, I'm excited about this because for a very long time the U.S., although we were putting money into the space program, the budget was cut significantly throughout time, throughout the last decades. And so I'm glad to see that we're pushing this again. Now, since then, it's kind of been privatized. You got SpaceX, you got a few other major companies out there trying to make rockets that are reusable, that can go to space and back, and just trying to make it cheaper and better. And Elon Musk has done a very good job doing this so far with SpaceX. And there are some other competitors out there for sure. I enjoy this quite a bit, though. I like this. So let's get into the article. 2019, President Trump signed a bill authorizing the creation of Space Force as the sixth branch of the U.S. Armed Forces. This hasn't happened since 1947, when the Air Force split from the Army. So how the Space Force is going to work is pretty much exactly how the Navy, how the Marines work within the Navy almost. So you're going to have, the Navy to Marines will be Space Force to Air Force. That's how that'll work. The primary functions of Space Force is to protect satellites from destruction and other space-related missions. Whatever that is, I don't know. I'm hoping in there's room for, like, call me crazy, call it science fiction, whatever you want, gathering stuff from asteroids, comets. I know it sounds far-fetched, but the dream is real, man. I think, there'd be some, I think it'd be exciting, especially when you have asteroids, what was it, the 1998 OR2. I can't remember if that was the one that came from another solar system. That already passed by, though, so, we're not going to get something like that. But it'd be cool to get something else, maybe not exactly comparable, but something cool like that. Anyways, so let's continue. All space responsibilities from the Air Force will now be afforded to the Space Force. So the Air Force did have responsibilities for space-related issues before. Obviously, now they're going to be given to the Space Force. So they're predicting by 2025, there's going to be a $4.7 billion annual budget for the Space Force. I think that, as it stands now, I think that's modest. I think it'd be more than that. I think Elon Musk has narrowed it in. I think they said they got it to a tenth of what it used to be. But I believe, and as weird as it's gonna sound, I almost hope they put more money into it. And I know there's like a military complex, money, and no one wants to put that much more money into it. But this is also for discovering things, I think, and I think that's pretty cool. And space is the next great frontier. That's the next step. That's one of the next. I mean, not that we haven't discovered everything on this planet. I'm sure there's a variety of insects and a multitude of things we still have to find. So also Trump did sign a $1.4 trillion spending bill. And in part of that bill, some of that money will be allocated to the Space Force, so they weren't going to be shut down. Obviously, this costs a lot of money. It didn't give me the specific as to how much was allocated towards the Space Force, but I'm sure it had to be billions. If they're projecting 4.7 billion by 2025, we're in 2020. I'm sure it had to be a considerably bigger amount than 4.7 billion. I would think so. I'm speculating. I don't know for sure. But, I'm hoping that we can collect samples from a lot more stuff. And I don't know if necessarily, it might, look at the Air Force, look how it's structured. They do have drones. They do have drones on missions. Space Force will probably be something akin to that, where they'll have drones doing a lot of missions for sample retrieving. I like that. I think that's pretty cool. I think that's dope. And there might be more things that we're just unaware of, that we can learn from. And also too, government tends to do it, at least our government tends to do things better initially. and then someone hops on board and makes it better. As we've seen, you know, who did it better than NASA? You know, Russia was, you know, shooting off rockets before us technically, but technically we got to the moon first in the United States. So I know this is a very long-winded discussion and there's more to get into, but we're always pushing the envelope, and I think that's cool. I think, you know, pushing the envelope is not as ubiquitous as people would like to believe anymore. And people are tumultuous about, you know, their feelings and dreams, but that doesn't necessarily push the envelope. Because a lot of people don't want to reinvent the wheel. They just want to do and copy what other people do. And that's great too. There's nothing wrong with that. You can be completely successful like that. But we're talking about people who are going to be pioneers. You know, people are going to be pioneers in space going forward. I think this is awesome. This is fantastic. I'm all for it. You know, I'm so down. And anyone hating on it, you gotta understand, this money is research money. You know, things work differently in space. I could be wrong about this. This might have been from a movie, but I could have sworn, I think this was from a movie, that it's that cancer slowed down in space. And I could be, you know, don't quote me on this. Could be just, that could just be bro science. But I'm interested personally in a lot of other things, like plants being grown there. Like we already do kind of stuff like that, which is cool. We've learned quite a bit. You know, what does, I do feel bad though for these astronauts, because unless we've developed some type of radiation blockage, you gotta understand, these guys and gals, they're gonna be going on that front line, literally the front line, because as soon as they're out there, they're exposed to way more radiation than most people. In 1 year, you're gonna get way more, and a year's a stretch, guys. So in 1 year, you're gonna get way more radiation than you would have in your lifetime. We have to figure out how to protect them. Now, we could do lead, but then that's heavy. That's extremely heavy. How do you get that much lead up there? You could do it incrementally, maybe. But I think the real key is kind of like how Elon Musk is on to having rockets that land, that come back and land, and, you know, retrievable rockets. And I think that's gonna be the way to go going forward. Mind you, there's only 86 cadets. I did cover some of this before in my previous videos. I'm sure you can find them. I got a playlist. If you go down in the playlist, you can definitely find the videos about the cadets. And you know, I think this is just awesome. But we just under 100 people, you know, are in this program. You know, what their functions are, I don't know. And I could see, you know, I've seen some comments online where it could be a little scary. Like some people are like, well, what if they have missiles? What if they have this and that? I mean, the thing is, even though NASA isn't a branch of the military, maybe there's already missiles up there. We don't know. I mean, we don't know. I'd only assume they'd have some type of strategic plan for that with missiles and ordnance and a variety of things. And if they didn't, I'd be surprised. Again, I'm only speculating this part, but I'd gather to think that they'd have some type of resources up there that can be used for mass destruction, or an energy source of some sort that can be turned into a weapon of mass destruction, which you know, that's the big fear about, you know, these nuclear power plants, which no one really, not that no one really wants, is a lot of people don't understand. It takes, you know, decades to make these plants. Zero emissions, though. People don't understand that too well. Zero emissions from these plants. They're not as volatile as they used to be. So not as, I know is not the best way of saying that, but you gotta understand, it's far superior than the people still dying from like coal, like black lung, and you know, you're getting way more deaths right now, the traditional way of how we gather energy. You're getting way more deaths. So we have to kind of switch gears, unless we make better solar panels somehow, which they've been working on solar panel technology for a long time, and the change really hasn't been, it's so incrementally small that it hasn't been that drastic. If you take a solar panel from 20 years ago to 10 years ago. It's better. It's definitely better, but it's not where it needs to be to gather that much energy. Our batteries are not where they need to be to gather enough energy. And I'm all for clean source energy. I love that idea. I love that concept. And I think there's a multitude of ways that we can do better stuff. And I think we have seen them implemented, like parking garages, for example. Some of the parking garages that are up to date have sensors now where the light turns on. So I think there's an issue with insurances though for these parking garages, where some insurances require you to have lights on 24/7 even in the daytime, which is a mass use of energy. It's a gross use of energy in the daytime, but it's a liability thing. So maybe having sensors that can see a car and adjust for that and turn on the light, but the reality is it shouldn't be used all the time. A lot of warehouses have gotten these lights and they've gotten really efficient at that. In particular, Publix warehouse, they got a lot better at that, where they have sensors now. And I'm sure Walmart's probably very similar. I'm sure there's a lot of warehouses that are similar. First of all, it saves the company money. It definitely saves the world. So in a lot of ways, we're making things better, and it's not necessarily being innovative. It's sometimes combining technology, sensor technology that we've had for quite some time, paired with a warehouse, means less energy used for lighting, which accounts for a large amount of that. I mean, obviously AC probably counts for the most part of energy use in a warehouse, because it's a big space to get filled up. But anyways, guys, I'm digressing. Listen, get into the Space Force thing. It's pretty cool. I think it's really awesome and fantastic, and I personally love it. I think this is great for growth. And look into some stocks, for some of these space forces. Look into the people engineering what they need, the potential parts that they need. Look into the ETFs so you can start planning better for your future. I mean, I think there could be some monetary value that you could bring to yourself looking into these things, and I think that's something to also consider too, especially because Elon's getting better at this. He's just getting better at making his whole team is, excuse me, because it's not all Elon. It's his whole team in conjunction with one another. SpaceX doing a great job, and there's other great companies too. I can't name off the top of my head. I don't remember them. They're doing fantastic, but there's other reports correlating to the space and Space Force, which is Robert Bigelow, his company Bigelow Aerospace, with him having objects from UFOs essentially. That was real. That's real government officials omitting to this, and we have it documented now. So it's no longer speculative at this point, and no one's making a fuss about that. No one's making a big deal about that. And to me, that's disheartening, and I understand why. I mean, for years we've been waiting, and I mean, I'm only 28 years old. So, the UFO craze was a little bit before me, with SETI and everything like that. Or at least I wasn't old enough to comprehend the things that were going on at that time. Again, sorry for this long-winded video. Sometimes I just like to do these educational videos like this because I love these subjects. I love these concepts. I love these ideas, and I just want other people to know about these things, man. I think this is awesome. I think this is fantastic, and it's going to be interesting to see where machinery goes too. Because I've heard Neil deGrasse Tyson even explain this on the Joe Rogan podcast about I think it was drills. Drills were only created due to NASA needing a drill, and they made a drill, and then private companies figured out how to do it better. So government did it well, private companies did it better. I'm hoping to see this occur with SpaceX, and I'm hoping to see a lot of cool things come out of this. Also too, consider this about what I was saying about investing. SpaceX will be doing is already delivering supplies to the NASA International Space Center. So consider that there's going to be some monetary shifts going on. In a drastic way, and I hate to say this also too, and I don't know if they'd find this or not. If they found a heap of gold, they could hold on to that gold rather than dispersing it and selling it out. due to, you don't want too much gold circulating, because then, you know, money goes down, value goes down, gold's not worth nothing at that point. So, you know, be having like a trillion cows on the planet, you'd be like, there's too many cows, they're not worth anything anymore, steaks would be so cheap. Great for consumer, in that particular instance with cow, but not good as a whole for gold, where we base some of our monetary value on the US dollar, is based somewhat on gold. Not completely, obviously, we're off the gold standard for the most part. But yeah, so that's it, guys. I'm gonna wrap this up now. This is way too long. Thank you for listening. Please like, subscribe, check out my other videos. I got some silly videos on there too that are just to make you laugh. They're just jokes, and they're just to be silly. Just be silly billies. And then I got other educational videos on there. And it's mixed in. You got a little bit of everything. You can tell the shorter one, the real short ones, the 1 minute, 2 minutes, are like the jokey ones, just to make you laugh, have a giggle. You know, I put a little bit more work into those, a little bit more production value. And these are just, I'm spouting off the mouth and reading a little bit of article. Again, that article is from Fox News by Caitlin McFall. All right, guys, like, subscribe. It really helps out my channel. Thank you so much. Check out my other videos. See you guys. Bye.